This is DJ Maladroit with KCSC Santa Cruz, and I'm here with Guala Beatz.
What's going on, guys?
What's your story?
So I started making beats back in high school. Was getting real into it, but a lot of the online beat market wasn't really as developed as it is now. So I kind of just put it on hold on the side. Went to college, went to Miami at the U. Trying to do music, but you got to be like really good at an instrument to get into the music school. So I wasn't able to. So I just kind of hung around, got my degree in business and computer science, did music on the side. And when I was a senior, I'm like, damn, what the hell am I going to do when I graduate? I really like making music and like engineering and producing beats and all that. So I start putting some beats online like out in March, April. And I'm just like, start getting a lot of views on my stuff. And I'm like, damn, I can really make something out of this. I'm just going to 100% stick with it. I've been doing that ever since.
And what kind of music inspired you to start beat making?
So when I started out early, that was like my freshman year of high school. This was around the time ASAP Rocky like dropped his first mixtape. And if you've ever Live Love ASAP, if you've ever listened to it, like the production on it's ridiculous. One of the main dudes is called Clamps Casino, and he was doing like crazy stuff with messing with samples and making these crazy soundscapes that like no one had ever heard before. And I'm like, damn, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I want to like start producing and like trying to make some of the stuff that he's making.
And have you been inspired by any of the more recent hip hop projects from this year? I know that your titles kind of allude to like Lil Uzi Vert or Lil
Yeah,
Skies.
yeah, for sure. I'd say for producer wise, I think what Pierre Bourne's doing is incredible. He has a ridiculous amount of talent, especially a lot of his unreleased stuff. It's just crazy. Carti's one of my favorite artists right now, half because of the beats. There's an Atlanta producer named Earl the Pearl. There's a lot of Yachty stuff, some Lil Baby stuff that's really good. Obviously, Lil Uzi's entire sound, like the Verse the World mixtape with Molly Raw, like a lot of stuff he did on there was amazing. Some of Nav's like SoundCloud stuff is there. Working on Dying right now too. They just produced Mad Ox's entire album. I think they're one of the better up and coming producer groups right now too. There's like a lot of talent out there right now, especially if you know where to look for it.
Just to talk about some of those artists, what's your take on Playboi Carti's newest project, Die Lit?
Honestly, I liked it from the get-go, and then the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. It's not really a tape that you can just like listen all the way through just because of how repetitive a lot of it is, and Carti's not exactly a lyricist, but he's really good at like vibing with his music and maintaining his sound. And when you're able to like slowly get through all the songs when you just play a couple at a time, like it's really a great project. Like there's some really good songs. Some songs are like just pretty good, but there's a lot of stuff that Pierre does that you don't really listen to the first couple times. Carti's just really able to get into a vibe. The beats are amazing. A lot of the songs are really good. It's one of my favorite projects to come out this year.
And do you think that Carti's repetitive beats is to his benefit when it comes to his rapping? I kind of hear that from time to time. Want to see what
Yeah,
your take
I
on
would
that
say
is.
that for sure, man. He's just saying whatever pops into his head and just running with it for a few minutes, but it works. Sounds good.
And you mentioned Lil Yachty, who just dropped a record around 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, man. I'm usually not big into Yachty's stuff. I think he's like definitely not the most consistent rapper. So I was just listening to some of the songs on that tape, like with the lowest expectations. And he's got a couple that just like knock it out of the park. There's one with Juice World called Yacht Club. There's one with Lil Baby called Saint Laurent. That's my favorite on there right now. Get Drip with Cardi. Like I'll say Yachty's still not the best rapper out there, but the beats are incredible and the features that he gets. Like I don't know how it is that Juice World and Lil Baby and Cardi have some of the best verses on a Yachty tape, but he was just able to get it out of them.
So on your YouTube channel, on your Instagram as well, you tend to, for your videos, incorporate a lot of nerd culture, such as cartoons or some video games from the
Yeah.
early to mid 2000s era. Why do you go for that aesthetic in particular?
So when I was starting out, I noticed like a lot of these beat channels would just put like a picture or just like a pretty basic GIF, like not really put any effort into visuals. And so when my beats weren't like maybe at the level of someone who's more established, I had to like still find a way to like reel the audience in. So I started like looking for stuff, and I kind of realized that like I would watch video game gameplay without any music or anything, just like looking at video games, especially retro video games, which inspire like a lot of hip hop that's out right now. And so I just thought to myself, like, why not just put like these old video games to one of my beats and see how it looks? I think one of the first ones I did was like Rainbow Road on Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. And it just turned out sick. Like I went into iMovie, I turned up the saturation, which is basically the colors. and just put it to one of my beats, and it just fits so well. I'm just like, wow, I got to run with this. I did one with Sonic Adventure Battle 2, like a game that like so many kids my age like grew up playing on the GameCube. And there's this one level where he's like in outer space, and it just looks amazing. Like makes you really want to just watch it while you're listening to the beat. So even if you're like kind of bored of the beat, you're still just going to sit to watch this like incredible art in this gameplay. And the nostalgia factor too is like a big part of it, especially if you see something that like you grew up playing, like Sonic Adventure Battle 2, like SNES games, or everyone has an experience with Mario Kart. Like you see that on a clip and you're just like, dang, I got to click that. Let me watch this. And the nostalgia is really like an emotion that like adds another pack that the beat might not have on its own.
Would you say you were influenced by some of the music in those video games?
I would say so, man. Literally when I'm just like cleaning up my room, I'll put on like Mario Kart, Koopa Troopa Beach, or like Mario Beach music, or like Mario Kart music, or like Earthbound music, like just video game music, and just let it play. It's honestly incredible. Like what these guys were able to do, especially on limited hardware too. The SNES only had like a couple different chips, so these guys really had to focus on melodies, and the music is just like out of this world in some of these old Nintendo games.
Do you have a personal favorite?
I mean, I'd say Pokemon, just because like I could probably recognize any single one out of there. Probably Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. The music out of those, incredible.
I haven't caught on to this, but do you sample in your songs?
I'll use loops in maybe like 30% of my songs. Not a lot, but like if I hear a loop that I really like, then I'm going to use it and just flip it. But I try to get into like using my own sounds. Like I've gotten a lot into sound design lately. So I'll like make my own sounds and then like try to make beats out of that, just because I like having more control over what my entire beat sounds like.
And what's the process in making your own sounds?
So the main one I use is it's called Electra X. The main one Pierre Bourne will use on a lot of Carti stuff, and it just makes it really easy to like edit sounds. There's like a bunch of different waveforms you can edit. You can add effects like right from there. There's this thing called the envelope, which is basically like how fast your sound kind of hits and like how fast your sound is to release. Like if you're playing a note on the piano, like after you press the button, how quick would you actually hear the sound? And when you let go of the piano, like how quick would it like cease to be making sound? And just adjusting stuff like that, literally just playing with it until I can hear something that sounds cool, usually like outer spacey for me. And then I'll just roll with it and try to make a song out of it.
And do you think growing up in Michigan kind of influenced like what kind of music you're into or your perspective on it?
I would say so. We're into a lot of like kind of weird stuff out here, like definitely weird kind of sounds, because there's not a whole lot to do out here. So we're not like going into cities bumping like the mainstream stuff. We're kind of just sitting back, like smoking weed, like chilling and listening to some crazy sounds. Like we were heavily influenced by A$AP Rocky, like Chance the Rapper when acid rap came out. Music like that. It's kind of like nostalgic feeling, definitely like cool sounds that you wouldn't hear anywhere else, and just not run-of-the-mill sounds that you hear, basically.
And I hear you're also in the process of moving out of Michigan.
Yes, correct. I'm heading back to Miami in January. I'm about to get a one-bedroom. I have a friend who is pretty well connected in the music industry. He's going to help me out, too.
What are your long-term goals in Miami?
Definitely start working with artists, like whether they're established or non-established, like working with artists, building them up, getting like actual placements with established artists. Basically just working with artists that I like. Like YouTube is great and I love putting out beats and getting reaction from them, but the end goal is really working with artists and getting like legit projects out, and that's always my main focus. Miami has a very like specific kind of sound. On one hand, you have guys like the Buffet Boys, if you've ever heard of them. That's like Puya, Fat Nick, Wi-Fi's Funeral, a lot of like really fast kind of Ronnie J influence, like Denzel Curry influence kind of beats. And then on the other side, you have these guys called Members Only. That was like XXX Tentacion, Ski Mask, all produced by this guy Jimmy Duvall and Arnold is Dead. That whole group, very like distorted bass, like really hard ass beats. I got a friend called Chef Boyer Black who like works a lot with those guys too, putting out music. So basically, just whoever I can get in the room with, Whoever I can get with a room with, honestly. Like, I'm down to work with artists like usually like one particular kind of sound, and I'm willing to like mold my kind of sound around what an artist is looking for, as well as trying to keep like what makes the Guala Beatz sound, you know.
It seems like you have a focus on more of the SoundCloud rap scene at the moment.
Yes, for sure, man. It's just like you can't argue that there's not good music on there, especially if you like sounding different than to what the industry is putting out.
And what's your take on what the industry is putting out right now?
I mean, I can't like hate on it, but you look at like take the Migos, especially like pre and post like culture too. Like once you get to pretty much the pop status that they are, beats become a lot more basic, a bit more. The rapping gets a bit more watered down because they can't really rap as raw as they used to because their audience is a lot bigger. They got to put out more of these like pop sounding hits, and they don't have as much creative freedom just because they have to appeal to like a larger audience. So I think like a lot of the freedom that comes with not being as established of an artist, having full creative control, maybe not even being signed, being able to put your stuff on SoundCloud. You look like a guy at Lil Uzi Vert. He hasn't released like a lot of the music that he wants to release. He has so many songs that are leaking, going unreleased because his label just won't let him put it out. And so the fact that like a lot of these smaller guys can have creative control like that really appeals to me.
And do you have any projects you're looking forward to in the next coming year or so?
Ooh, that's tough, man. I don't know. Definitely Lil Uzi's when it drops. Pierre Bourne's supposed to be dropping an album, but who knows when that's coming out, and who knows if at all Lil Uzi's is coming out. I think that's all that's on my radar right now.
And what's your take on his latest single?
New Paddock. I love it, bro. That video is so funny. And when it drops, man, that'd be sick to see live.
Thanks for the interview, Guala.
Yeah, appreciate your time, man.
All right. Have a good day.
Peace out, brother.